some decks do that, right? Especially if they're going hard female, divine feminine, and all that kind of stuff. We are live.
Oh, I totally didn't realize we were live. Hey, y'all.
So we're here for Tarot Delights. Since Father's Day just passed, this past weekend, I thought we could talk about the men of tarot. And, some of the father figures of tarot.
The
like,
kings.
Yeah, the kings, the emperor. I've got the King of Pentacles here, the father of money.
Ooh, the father of money.
Yeah. Or like we treat our dads, endless wells of wealth. King of Cups, of course. He's the, king of emotions, relationships, all that good stuff. What else?
The fool is traditionally male, but not always.
Yeah, it usually is male, or at least a young man.
Yeah, a young man.
And the Hierophant is usually a male as well. And he's the father of the church, or a father in the church, of course. Is usually typical. We've got some knights, which are traditionally male.
Mm-hmm.
And they're young men, though. They're men that are charging forward, taking on life. Unlike the kings who've already lived some life, have some life experience, and are more experienced in it. There's a lot of male energy, but there's also a lot of female energy.
Mm-hmm.
I know I personally tend to focus in on the female aspect of things, but there is, there's that balance that you have to have, right? Because a lot of the miners are, just guys sitting under trees and
or
doing
working with things.
Yeah, exactly.
There's one, I think it's the Nine of Cups in this deck. It's like an older man working at a pottery wheel.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. See if I can find it.
Yeah. Like there's the Six of Pentacles. It's a man counting his money, and some of it's falling out of the window, for perhaps charitable reasons. Maybe he's not holding them all. There's the Hanged Man that we just talked about not too long ago.
Mm-hmm.
In my deck, it's the Hanging Man. And there's my Fool there.
Oh, it's Nine of Cups, sorry. I don't know what I thought.
Oh, okay.
Nine of Cups. Like on a pottery wheel, and you can see his work behind him is displayed.
Mm-hmm.
It's kind of that like last push before the 10, and you've completed your quest.
And then the Hermit, which is your favorite card.
It is my favorite card.
Is traditionally a guy, but not always. Like in a lot of modern decks, they change the genders and things like that. And then some decks, the kings don't even exist. They're now like just energy, which is, a neat take as well.
I'm trying to figure out if there's any like. This one has to have the chakra tarot, the healing chakra tarot. I'm butchering the name. Often has one of my favorite Hierophant cards.
Oh, okay.
Let me find it.
Just going through our cards to see who's male and who's not male.
Sorry we missed you on Monday, everyone.
Yeah, we're here on a Wednesday. We might switch it to Wednesdays come summer too. Yeah. So watch us while we sort through our cards. Isn't this an exciting episode? We're looking for all the male stuff.
Well, and I mean, has anyone been feeling the energy in the air is a little bit heavy? Not including world events.
Yeah.
Because that's kind of a given.
Yeah. I wonder if Death is male. Like, is he a male skeleton? Is he female?
I don't know.
Is he kind of a little both? I'm calling him he.
Yeah. I would say there's a balance of energy with Death, so I would say there's equal parts. Oh, and that's interesting because in my deck, it's female.
Oh.
Yeah.
Oh, Death is. Oh, she doesn't look very scary.
No, it's more of a that transformation aspect.
Yeah. Yeah. I can see that. Yeah, go through your deck and, figure out which is male, which is female in your particular deck, which is maybe both. Some cards kind of have that I don't know which way it's going kind of thing.
And I mean, that's always interesting with that too, because then you can kind of scale it to your reading, like whatever cards are showing up. If it leans more towards the female energy, then go there. And if it's leaning towards the male energy, go there. And as I'm saying that, I liked my Hierophant because they're surrounded by books, but she's actually female in my deck.
Oh, okay.
Which I totally didn't notice before.
Okay. All right.
So that's interesting.
Yeah, an interesting little take on how things are. Yeah, sometimes going through your deck when you're, checking on, how much of this, how much of that, or, how much green do I have in my deck, you don't realize how much there is until you actually kind of sort through it,
And have you noticed each kind of suit has a color to it?
Yeah, that's for sure.
So I know wands are more reds, traditionally.
Yeah, because they're passionate.
They're passionate. Fire. And then cups are more blue.
Devil's definitely male.
Yep. Yeah. You're definitely. So I found that interesting because the devil in the This Might Hurt Tarot presents female, but I don't get female energy from it.
Oh, okay.
I'll have to, I will find it and see.
Because there's the Emperor. He's considered the father of tarot. And of course his counterpart is the Empress. Just had her here a second ago. Do you think I could find her when I want her? No, of course not. Never. Because they all have, here she is. So they all kind of they have counterbalances, right? Because sort of perfection is the balancing of both these energies, right? So yeah, so he's the male and she's the female. And that's often the purpose. Like she's got the clear view of the zodiac and he's got the golden filled in
Oh, that's interesting.
circle of the zodiac, because knowing the zodiac implies there's some knowledge of the universe kind of thing.
So I've got a little bit of a risque devil, and you really they present kind of like pregnant and
Oh yeah, got the breasts
and the belly kind of going on. But I mean, it could totally be.
It could be a gluttonous belly too.
It could be a gluttonous belly.
Because the devil often represents the sins and the 7 deadly sins and all that kind of stuff, right?
So I found that interesting.
Yeah, interesting.
However you want to play that devil card.
Yeah, and there's been a lot of goddesses that have been, forced down into the underworld and sacrificed, and then also even their gender has been changed because they were considered too powerful by the patriarch.
Yep.
Back when the Bible was first coming to fruition.
Well, and that's also a book put together by a bunch of men.
It was put together by the patriarch. and even the New Testament, it was the Vatican, not council, but a Vatican sort of council that decided which books were going to go in.
What stayed and what goes.
Yeah, exactly.
How do you do that with the it's supposed to be so this is the problem I've always had with it is it's supposed to be the word of God.
Right.
And how do you make those decisions as a human being? I get the whole I've channeled it and I've heard from God and this is what he says. Or they say. Depends on how you want to gender God. But I still am but there's a whole list of books that you did not include.
Yeah, there is. And I know in Catholic faith, the Pope is omnipotent. So what he says when he puts what's called a bull out there, it's supposed to be a direct word from God kind of thing.
Interesting.
Yeah. So, he's infallible in that way is the viewpoint.
But the Pope is still human.
Pope is still human. Pope still throws his dirty pants on the floor like everyone else.
Well, it's interesting now with the Pope, because the Pope's American, people are I'm related to the Pope. And we're what?
Oh, all these relatives are coming out of the woodwork?
Yeah, all these relatives are I can prove how I'm related to Pope It's not Francis, is it Leo?
Yeah, I think it's Leo. Yeah,
Okay.
yeah, I
Can you
think.
tell I don't pay attention?
Yeah, it's like, oh, and it's so new still. I'm
Yeah.
like, oh, right, okay, we've got a new pope, right, right. But, I just saw on Facebook yesterday, the ascot with the royalty has just started, and I just was reminded, oh, yeah, we have a king now instead of a queen, because the queen was around forever.
Yes, she really was. And very beloved by people.
Yes, yeah, so it's King Charles the Third. I didn't realize he was the third one.
Neither did I.
At least I think it was King Charles the Third, they said. I
I'm
know it's King Charles, but
I'm surprised he kept his given name, because normally they choose their royal name.
not always. Not always. Elizabeth was Elizabeth.
Okay.
The Pope changes his name.
Okay, because I thought the royals could do the same thing. Maybe I'm mixing up the two.
I don't know. I'm sure they're allowed to, but I know popes often they pick what pope name they're going to have, right? They don't pick, usually they don't go by their given name.
No, because
It's
that'd
not
be.
Pope Brian
I
or
was gonna
something.
say that'd be weird. We'd have some like Pope Brian's Pope. I'm trying to think of a non-traditional name and I can't. Now that we're
Pope
thinking
Malcolm.
Pope Malcolm.
Oops.
Uh-oh.
And away we
We
go.
lost you.
There we go. We're back. So we also have the knights, all 4 knights from each suit. So these are the young men that are ready to take on life and the male energy. Like when I talk about the court cards, I'm often talking about the energy of that court card as opposed to,
Physical descriptions.
physical descriptions. There's going to be a young man on a horse that comes into your life. Like how often is that happening? And so it's more the energy, because like then it can apply to whoever's sitting in front of you, that maybe you're very, ambitious and you want to jump forward in that career or get that new job or whatever it might be, kind of thing. So these guys are usually the ones that show up when you're ready to make the jump, when you're not thinking enough, and maybe being a little reckless with the jump, whatever it might be. And then we have the kings. So all the kings are here. Now the king energy
And all the king's men.
and all the king's men. Yeah, these are all the king's men.
The way you said kings, I'm like, that Humpty Dumpty's not going to my brain.
That's right. But when the king shows up, it usually means, in a reading, I find that it's either you're the master of that situation.
Okay.
So again, if it's wands, you're the master of your career. You know exactly where you want to go. You're about to hit your goal. Or you need to remaster.
Oh, that's interesting. I like that.
Yes. So
So it's like you think you're the master, but you got to take a look at things.
exactly. So if you get the King of Pentacles or the King of Cups, for instance, King of Cups, maybe it's time to remaster your emotions. What are your relationships like? Money, it could be, oh, hello, who's there? Oh, it's Robin. Hi,
Hey, Robin.
You are our most faithful watcher. I love it. Thank you for being here. I had Humpty Dumpty in my mind, too. That's hilarious.
I'm in good company, Robin.
So, if the King of Pentacles shows up, it either means like you're the master of your money right now, or maybe you need to remaster your finances. Maybe it's time to look at those finances, and are there pennies slipping through the cracks that maybe you haven't paid it enough attention to?
Hopefully not in this economy.
Yeah, hopefully not. Everybody's pennies are slipping through cracks, and everybody's pennies are not going as far as they once did.
No.
Now, we also have the pages here. So the pages often are young boys, right? I mean, they can be a little androgynous.
Yeah, I was gonna say depending on what deck you're using.
Yeah. So they can be a little androgynous, or they're young boys just starting out. Usually pages carry messages, so they're what I often call a special card, and I get excited because that means you get to draw another card. For me, it's like in Crazy Eights when, it's like, pick up one more card, and, kind of thing. So, but they also, they're messengers for the whatever suit they're kind of involved with. So it's also good when you're doing readings to see what suit is showing up a lot of. so that you're like, oh, okay, so it's about finances, or it's about love and relationships, or, it could be about your words, like the suit of swords is usually about communication, which can cover a lot of things. Now, swords can cover definitely legal things, educational things, but it can be, what's your self communication like? What's your communication like if there's a lot of cups around it? What's it like in a relationship? Is your tone maybe not, translating as well, kind of thing?
And that's interesting too. I just found it. So I was flipping through my deck looking for something else, and in one of the decks I have, the moon is presenting as male.
Oh, now, funnily enough, the moon is considered female in the modern world, but it used to be considered a male source of energy, and the sun was the opposite.
Oh, that's interesting because we because it's the more modern, we've always done the other way around.
Yeah, yeah.
Huh.
It's funny how some celestial bodies have changed their gender, right? Because
Yeah.
Saturn, I know you've heard me say, is a planet that's named after a god, but that god used to be a goddess.
Interesting. That just proves that gender is fluid and nobody knows what they're doing
Yeah, yeah.
as far as genders goes.
Well, I mean, it's interesting. Well, also too, there's the patriarch, and I don't want to harp on the patriarch, but when
let's
they
be honest, we harp on the patriarch.
yeah, we harp on it. We do for good reason.
I just like to keep them accountable.
Exactly, because things are shifting right now.
They are.
Right? We're
Very
just at the
much so.
beginning of the matriarch coming back in, because at the beginning of, time, because we've been around for tens of thousands of years, and they've done archaeological digs, and they know that some of the first peoples, and I'm not talking about indigenous first peoples, I mean like sort of after the caveman kind of people.
Our lesser evolved selves.
Well,
If you want to go backwards, but our more evolved self.
our more evolved cells beyond like what's the term, human?
Neanderthal.
Yeah, Neanderthal. Once we were past that
Okay.
stage, kind
So I
of
was
thing.
like, how far back are we going? Because I don't know anything beyond it.
Actually, I'm just reading a book right now from the Ice Age to the Bible,
Ooh.
the goddess within that time frame.
That's interesting.
So it's been very interesting because, yes, they have done a lot of archaeological digs where they first started out, like the Sumerians and stuff like that, first started out worshiping a goddess, and goddess came first.
Yeah.
Because it makes sense, because she gave birth to life, right? And it's from her that God came, right? And even like the Jewish faith is one of the first monolithic spiritual paths, kind of thing, right? That was a new thing when they first said, well, we're just going to believe in one. They believed in a lot of many other ones as well, and there's a lot of parallels and similarities and crossovers and things like that for, gods and goddesses, and them, having like, Venus, for instance, is the goddess of love, and she's supposed to be a descendant from Ishtar,
Okay.
who was the goddess of love, but also the goddess of sexuality. There was sacred prostitution, all this kind of stuff, right? And they did not see sex in the same way that we see it today.
Okay.
And both from the Jewish branch, the Islam branch, and the Christian branch, all three of those major branches have very much put sex in a sort of a sinful, dirty kind of.
But it didn't start out that way.
It did not start out that way. In fact, men used to go to temples of the goddess, bringing gifts and offerings to the sacred prostitutes, and it was used as a way of healing, especially when men would go to war and whatnot, but for other things and other offerings and stuff. That's why men still bring flowers and candy to women to this day.
So it stems from bringing offerings to the goddess.
Yes,
Interesting.
to get sexual blessings, because sex was considered life-giving, because I mean that's how we procreate, right? And it was considered a special blessing from the goddess to be able to have sexual relations with these priestesses and things like that. And gender then was a little more fluid too. It became more restrictive as the patriarchy came in.
Yeah. Well, people like to the patriarch likes to put things in neat little boxes, but nothing should be put in neat little boxes.
And not to say there isn't something to be said for neat, precise, logic, all these things, but it goes together with chaos and creativity and messiness
As I was saying,
sometimes.
creativity is messy.
Yeah, it is. It is messy.
There is no
You
being
know, you
careful with
you
creative.
talk to any artist and
Yep.
it's messy, you know, and it doesn't matter what their medium is. It's always messy.
My first drafts of writing are never coherent.
Right? Yeah,
It's literally like almost stream of consciousness. I'm like, I just need to get this down. I will make sense of it later.
Right. Yeah, exactly. That's why it's called a rough draft,
Yep.
right? And there's probably about 9 more to come before our final
100%.
product is done.
And then there's Josh, who's the opposite. He's like, okay, I've got it in my head. And then he'd hand his full paper in, and people are like, where's the rough draft? Because, like, a part of your grade in school
Was
oftentimes,
always,
hand
yes.
in your rough draft first. He's like, I can't.
Right.
I don't have one. And then they were like,
Yeah,
here's
yeah.
your marks docked off for that.
Exactly, yeah. The same thing would happen to me in math. I would know how to get to the answer, but I couldn't fully explain how I got there.
Yep.
So I'd get marks knocked off for that. Now we talked about the Hierophant being sort of the father of the spiritual realm.
Mhm.
And another guy, the Hermit, traditionally speaking.
Traditionally speaking, yes, he is the. I like this deck. I remember what I was looking for now. So this deck has the chakras, and according to this creatrix, they I find it really interesting that a lot of the male energy is in the lower chakras.
Okay.
Let
Well,
me-
the solar plexus is very much the sun
Yeah.
kind of energy, which is male
Mm-hmm.
these days. So
But
makes sense.
I just kind of found that little tidbit. Not always.
The sun card is male energy, right?
Yep, and that's interesting is because though it's female presenting in the picture, root chakra, which again, lower
Yeah,
chakra, male
lower
energy.
Yeah, yeah. The devil, we've all agreed, is a man. We've got the hangman. Man right there. It's right in the the title.
I found that, so this one's doing sacral and heart.
Sacral and heart. Oh, okay.
So, and little more androgynous in there
Yeah.
presenting. So, hanged one.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So no gender specific attached there. The magician
Yes.
is usually presenting as male.
Mind you, I found it really interesting when it's presented as the crone.
Oh yeah, yeah. And the crone is interesting because she is able to harness some of her male energy more efficiently than the maiden or the mother.
She's been at it longer.
She's been at it longer. She's understanding the balance of it all. I think the hermit is a little bit like that too. And I think it's interesting that your hermit has the solar plexus and the heart because there's a gateway there when you move into your higher chakras. Now, higher doesn't mean better.
No.
But when you do that as a human being, it means like you usually do that when you're around 7, 8, 9 years old, when you're developing the ability to be empathetic, to be compassionate, all those kind of things beyond just your own world, right? Like we're supposed to be in our lower chakras when we're younger because we're fighting to survive, right? We're just a helpless baby. So we cry when we need to eat and when we need love and when we need our diapers changed and stuff like that. And we're basically surviving in our root chakra at that point. And we slowly evolve upward. Now, evolving doesn't, like I said, mean better because there's so many people walking around with trauma from past generations and it's all at the root chakra, baby. That's where that all comes from. And there's a lot of people that are walking around with womb trauma as well, both male and female. Males can have womb trauma as well in their sacral chakra. So don't think just women have the sacral chakra, even though it's womb based. For the most part, it's not just a female thing, it's a male thing as well. And they can have past life kind of stuff in there. And
Well, that's what I find really fascinating about past lives is you can flip that gender divide. And it's really interesting because I've had dreams about my past life.
okay.
And I didn't realize it till I woke up because while I was dreaming, I thought I was awake.
Right.
But then I definitely wasn't in my body.
Right.
And when I looked in the
right.
mirror, it was a little shocking. I was like, oh, okay.
That's not what I think I look like
No.
right now.
Unless something drastically has changed. But no, it was really interesting to look at. It was a different time frame of like life, and also I'm pretty sure the genders were swapped, and I was like, okay.
Right.
But
right.
I maintained like my brain, weirdly enough.
Yeah, because I know I've been male in a couple of my past lives that I remember. So yeah, it's kind of interesting when I'm like I've had a reoccurring dream since I was about 7 or 8 years old of being in World War II.
Interesting.
Yeah, and yeah, I'm a guy, and it gets a little bit like it's almost like a new snippet gets added like every decade or so.
Okay, so I've experienced that on a smaller scale, not like did the adding on of the snippet.
Oh, okay.
Not the like gender flipping, but there was a dream I had once. Like I had the same dream. It was for a couple of years in a row, and every year the snippet would be added, but it was like
Okay.
less than 5 years, and I don't tell you, I can't remember it now.
Oh, okay.
But,
Oh, I
like-
remember it because it comes up every once in a while.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I find that really interesting that your brain, like as you sleep, you're processing things and you're like making sure that your body is healing and things like that. But your brain, I think, goes into this like deep subconscious mode
Yeah.
and really can start to process things, and eventually maybe you haven't had a hugely stressful day and you're not dreaming about work.
Yeah.
And so when it doesn't have to process your immediate trauma, it kind of filters back through your other stuff.
Yeah.
And
it
I
can
think
dive deep.
I
definitely.
think that's where we kind of get that, like, I don't know. I've had dreams where I swear I don't actually sleep. Like I've woken up in either other timelines or other spaces.
Oh, okay. Very vivid and
Yeah.
stuff. Yeah.
Wish I wrote them down.
Yeah. Yeah. Right. Yeah. Because of course your brain sees dreams. Your conscious brain, when we're thinking at one of our slowest paces, by the way, when we're awake, we're at our slowest.
Which is interesting because,
Because you think you're super fast and you're not
oh gosh, no.
until you're asleep, and then you're thinking really fast.
Yeah, which I find really interesting because like all the kids are like, let's have a race. And I'm like, nope. This I don't run anymore.
Yeah. Yeah.
So when you were like, yeah, we're at our slowest, I'm like, darn right we are.
But when we first wake up, too, our conscious mind sees dreams as a spiritual experience,
Okay.
which is not needed for our existence here on this plane. Like we've gone 8 hours without food, without getting rid of any waste, without exercising or stretching. So it wants us to do all these things instead, right? To
So-
keep us.
So the priority of learning the lessons that you've filtered through in your subconscious isn't there.
No, it actively buries those memories and those dreams. That's
I
why
feel like we
it's.
could learn so much.
Oh, we could. There's tons we could learn because the unconscious mind, like when we're awake and looking around, we filter out about 60% of what we actually see. Our unconscious mind does not.
Okay.
It takes everything in. So the blue guy in Guardians of the Galaxy who takes everything literally, he's exactly like our subconscious mind.
Drax? Is that his name?
I think so.
Now I gotta look that up. You keep talking. Sorry, I feel like I
No,
interrupted
it's
you.
all good. It's all good. So our unconscious mind, when we're asleep, that's why it speaks to us in dreams because it's speaking to us in pictures. Sort of the old adage of a picture's worth 1,000 words, right? Because if it sat and said everything that it saw during the day, we'd need more than 8 hours to do it.
I was gonna say we'd lose our minds.
We would, but we do process a lot, everything we see, plus all the emotions and all the stresses and all the triggers that we experience during a day on a deeper level. That's why we dream about blue panda bears and pigs flying and all that kind of stuff.
So you said blue panda bears, and I saw pink unicorns.
There you go, right?
That's funny. Okay,
And
No,
like you said, if it has time, it will
then it'll start to. Okay, that's
go
really
into-
interesting.
That's why we often have a lot of these reoccurring dreams from childhood. Because as children, we have the time to think about, you know,
Because we're not bogged down by the stresses of life.
we're not,
Some
right?
of us. Sorry, I shouldn't assume.
Yeah, and as a teenager, you know, teens often have very vivid dreams because they're going through a very um, emotional time, not just emotionally maturing, but also spiritually maturing. Physically, we're growing, and you know, we're having to handle all the hormones that come along with that,
So,
and all the hair and the smells and the whole thing.
I thought hockey equipment was bad, but if you get a really like, because there's no air conditioning in school.
Yeah.
So if you go,
Yes.
if it's been really hot lately, the smell of feet,
Yes.
not the greatest.
Not the greatest.
I
No.
think I'd prefer
no.
hockey equipment.
Yeah, it's hard to say, right? It's like, oh my.
It's just funny.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah. The human body smells. And back in the day when we didn't have that many baths, I can't
Oh.
even imagine, right? Like,
now I understand why there's an entire industry to try and cover that.
yeah, yeah, because perfume was a big thing.
Still
And that's
is.
why wedding bouquets came to be, because you just had your bath in May. Normally you got married in June, so you'd need the bouquet so that you smelled okay enough.
God about that. Oh man.
Can you imagine, like, how we procreated?
I
I don't
have
know.
no
Do you
idea.
just get used to it, or?
I guess nose blindness. Like,
Yeah, exactly, right? Now, Febreze has a whole commercial about nose blindness, but we don't have the kind of nose blindness our ancestors must have had.
no, we don't. Well, because I remember, so I have to wear guards for work, and they don't breathe right. Like they're covered in like cloth, and they're
Right.
not like Kevlar as much as people tell me they're Kevlar. They're not. It's
Right.
foam. It's just something to like reduce impact.
Because she gets hit by kids a lot.
Sometimes, not always.
No, because she's mean, just
No.
because it's
It's
it's a nature of the beast kind
yeah,
of thing.
it's a sensory. It's a like over stimulation. There
Yeah,
we go.
there you go.
And so I haven't really washed mine all year.
Oh, okay.
So the other week I
Because
was
you're
like,
not thinking, oh, these are getting so dirty.
yeah, no, because they don't get dirty. Because
Right.
like if I'm outside, I'm usually wearing like a long sleeve, so they're covered.
Right.
And then the other day I was like, what smells? Because it wasn't the feet, it wasn't the kids, and it was my guards. And I was like, yep, they're going in the laundry.
Yeah.
I'm like, I almost want to keep Febreze in the car just to
Yeah, give it a little once over.
yeah. Oh man. I was like, I think I'd rather have hockey equipment.
Yeah, yeah.
But I wash my stuff. I'm not like a 13 times the charm.
Yeah.
No.
Exactly. I mean, I try to reduce the laundry that I do and rewear
Oh,
clothing
yeah,
and
100%
stuff
you
like
can
that.
do
I'm not
that.
I lived with someone who was a once a wearer, you know, like once it was
That's
worn,
insane.
she would wash it, and it's like, well, I had one she was like a clothing consultant of sorts, like she would
Like
help,
personal shopping?
not really personal shopping, personal style.
Okay.
But one of the things, she gave a talk, I can't remember where it was, or it was quite a few years ago, but she said one of the best things you can do for your clothes is not wash them every time you wear them, because the fastest way to go through clothing is laundry, because it wears off, like it wears the clothes down.
Yeah.
Right? And I'm like, yeah, I can totally see that, you know, and
Well, jeans are really good. Like I know back in the day, it was you that told me that like nobody ever washed their jeans and like you could just keep going.
yeah, well,
them?
yeah, I lived in like my ancestors and my grandfather and stuff were farmers. So,
Yeah.
you know, it was like, you know, once every couple of weeks, the jeans would get washed. You had like 2 pairs of jeans and they just,
You know,
yeah.
kept you going.
Yeah, exactly.
And I know nowadays that's not the case. Like I know I cycle through, and I'm at the lower end of things. I need to go through all of my clothes. So like I cycle through about 4 pairs of pants.
Yeah, I've
And I
got
can
like 4 pairs of
usually-
leggings, black leggings.
Yeah.
That's a standard.
Oh,
right?
of course.
Then I've got a couple pairs of jeans. I'm getting out the white bottoms now
Nice.
for summer.
I haven't cycled a pair of jeans in forever.
Oh,
Like I
really?
used to be a like if I'm not in leggings, I'm in jeans type of person.
I'm like that in the winter.
And then now I'm like, I don't know if my jeans even fit me.
Oh, okay. Because I've got my jean shorts,
Yep.
and I've got my white capris. I got my white leggings that are kind of capri-ish like, and then I've got my white shorts that I'm wearing today.
Cute.
And I think I have a couple other pairs of like capri type things, because in the summer you sweat a little bit more.
Yeah, and you're like, I want to expose my legs. Please keep me cool.
Yeah, and you're like, okay, by the time I get home, the backs of my legs are, if you've been sitting on the patio all day, they're often sweaty because that's where you sweat, right? Depending on the chair, too, right? If it's,
Or you're driving.
oh yes,
So
oh my
depending on what your
God.
car's made out of.
Yes.
I watched a guy today, one of the teachers I work with, he drives a Jeep.
Oh,
And so
okay.
he's like, man, it's hot. And like everyone's car is hot. He has leather seats. I'm like, I feel sorry for you. So he's
Yeah,
like,
that's not what you want.
No. So he literally was yanking because he took the top off on the front half of his Jeep, and he's
Oh,
like,
okay.
this is how I'm driving home because it's too hot. I was like, fair.
I mean, I love the air conditioning in my car. I just wish, like, my steering wheel, I mean, is heated in the winter, which is awesome. I love
So
it.
you want like a switch for the
But
summer?
I
Oh my
want
god, that'd
switch for
be
the summer.
amazing.
Some cooling on my hands or
So it's
something.
like switch with the seasons.
Yeah, exactly.
And I know as Canadians, we don't even get to drive certain cars because like there's people that have, and I'm talking luxury sports cars. They maybe get to use them 1 month out of the year.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
It's really not even worth the cost at that point.
I know, right? Because it's just like, dude, you can't take that in ice and snow or anything
Rain.
else. Rain. Yeah, exactly.
Oh
Exactly.
my gosh, I was looking at the forecast next week and I was like, where's my umbrella?
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. Now we've got the Four of Wands too, that has the balance of male, female energy.
Yes.
And then it's often a son, but I think in this one it's a daughter, but it could be either or.
Is it like the celebration card?
The Four of Wands, it's called the marriage card.
Oh, it's the marriage card. Okay.
So from the combining of male and female energy, you create life. And sometimes it's a girl, sometimes it's a boy, whatever it is that you're assigned to. We have the Lovers. In this one, the Lovers is portrayed as a soldier upholding a woman in a gold bikini.
Interesting.
And they're very loving. More of that sacred prostitution.
I was
which
gonna
was a
say,
beautiful one.
I'm getting like Leia on Tatooine vibes.
Yeah, yeah,
that.
yeah, yeah.
Sorry,
a little
Star
bit
Wars.
of Leia going
Star
on.
Wars reference.
Yeah, exactly.
I feel like there has to be a Star Wars deck, right?
Oh, probably. I haven't seen it, but I'm sure it's out there. And then we've got the queens that counterbalance the kings, and bring balance to both of those energies.
You know what I find really interesting
Mm-hmm.
is that in some decks, Justice is portrayed as a woman.
Yep. She usually is because Justice is blind. And traditionally is a woman.
No, I'm
Who's
thinking
holding
I'm
scales.
mixing up Judgment and Justice.
Oh,
That's-
Judgment
that's what I'm-
is
That's what I'm
often
doing.
portrayed female, but it's actually the Archangel Gabriel.
So male energy.
Male energy or
Interesting.
androgynous again.
Androgynous. Okay.
Yeah.
That's interesting. Sorry, yeah, I don't know why in my brain, like when I don't have a physical card to look at in front of me,
Yeah.
Judgment and Justice,
Yeah. Often
I'm
get
like, what?
confused.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely.
but I know their meanings.
But Judgment, just think it's Judgment Day, so an angel's involved.
Yes.
Yeah.
And then that's Gabriel.
And Gabriel is the one that trumpets you into heaven.
How do you feel, what are your thoughts? How do you feel? Whatever that set of phrases. King of Pentacles, the king has throat chakra energy.
Oh, interesting. So that's an interesting chakra for King of Pentacles.
Now I want to look at the rest of them.
I am sensing this is speaking things into manifestation, into this physical plane, which is what Pentacles represent.
Yep.
And therefore using your words in order to manifest what you need to bring in. And of
Love
course
it.
he's blue chip stocks, always the more favored ones because
Mm-hmm.
they're the ones that, produce long term.
I wonder if all the kings have.
Now with the,
That's also
oh, she's got the throat chakra too?
yeah.
Oh, it's King of
King of Chalices.
Chalices.
Now
Okay.
now I want to find the other.
But
two
communication's so important
Yeah.
in
relationships. Yep.
Yeah. But it's interesting that it's not the heart chakra.
No, I get that.
Yeah, interesting.
Well, it's interesting too. Oh, I guess they aren't major arcanas. This deck, the Healing Chakra Tarot, all the majors have
Mm-hmm.
two chakras represented,
Okay.
and all the minors only have one.
Oh, okay. Okay. Fair enough.
So
Three of Pentacles, a guy working hard. It's usually a blacksmith working hard on pentacles, making them. So it's often a guy that's portrayed there. So that's some male energy as well, or could be. In my deck, the Five of Pentacles usually represented by a male and female going to church and begging for charity.
Yep.
In this case, it's two guys that look like they're begging for charity. They've got a rat in there too.
Oh, that's interesting.
Mm-hmm.
Normally, you don't see animals.
Yeah, I just noticed the animal.
Now I want to go back and check for animals in my deck.
Oh, and cool. The Four of Cups is usually a guy sitting under a tree with three cups on the side and the clouds opening up to.
Give him another one.
Yeah, that's very much, but he's got a snake under his.
Oh, that's interesting.
Snake magic. Very high magic, by the way, the snake magic. And he's got a book that he's reading, so. And he's looking at the cup. Normally speaking, he's
They're not looking at the cup?
Yeah, they're not noticing it yet.
Hmm.
Very, very interesting. It's interesting what you find on your deck when you start looking at it. And
Well,
that
that's
looks
what
like
I love about deck studies.
Is that a grasshopper?
Yes.
Yeah.
No, it honestly took me almost you pointing it out.
Yeah.
Because if you had just handed
Yeah.
me the card and went, find the grasshopper, wouldn't have found it.
And I still remember a poem as a kid of the grasshopper making fun of ants over the summer getting prepared.
Oh,
and bringing
yes, I remember
food.
that one.
And he then is, cold outside and the ants bring him into their nest and he plays a fiddle or something, I think, and so he entertains them
As a form of payment, I
as
believe.
a form of payment. Yeah, but he realizes that the ants weren't so silly to work hard all through the summer because he just enjoyed himself and had fun.
Well, I think that's the you should think ahead and don't, put all your eggs in one basket type.
Yeah, and prepare, prepare to the point of, not to the point of worry, because a lot of people will disguise their worry as being prepared. And, they're worried they're prepared for the worst, but hope for the best. It's like, yeah, but some people.
My daily. That's my daily. Or there's like, okay, nothing can change what's going to happen. It's just going to be what it's going to be.
Yeah. But a lot of people will say prepare for the worst and hope for the best, but they forget the hope for the best part.
Okay, that's fair. That's fair.
And they just are like, well, I'm prepared for the worst, and they almost expect the worst so that when something happens, they're like, see, it's good that I was prepared.
But it's like you weren't prepared. You were already manifesting the worst because you were thinking about it.
Yeah. So there's the balance between being the happy grasshopper who plays in the fields in the summer and the balance of also being the ant and working hard to prepare and being able to embrace both. Now, the Six of Wands is traditionally a guy on a horse getting accolades and marching in a parade. It's often one of,
Celebration and victory.
celebration, victory, being recognized for the work that you've done, that sort of thing. But it can also be a woman as well. Again, gender is fluid, right? It's the energy of that. And the Six of Cups, a lot of sixes here. Six of Cups is normally a boy and a girl in a field. It's nicknamed the nostalgia card.
Oh, yes, that card. Okay.
So it brings up childhood memories.
Yeah, I have
maybe
a brother
someone
and
from
sister
your.
in mine.
Oh, okay. Yeah, mine look like a brother and sister, or at least a
Could be.
boy and a girl.
Yeah.
Or a boy with long hair, who knows? Lots of animals. There's usually a cat, at least, in this field. And it's usually a field of flowers or bouquets of flowers. It's usually a nice looking card.
I found mine.
It's just, oh, yeah.
So I have, they're in
Oh, yeah, they're in sort of a ghetto area,
Yeah.
right?
apartment complex and are repotting plants.
Yes. This one has frogs and butterflies and cats and mice and rabbits.
So the choices are all animal themed?
That and there's some sunflowers and some lilies
Okay, that's
and
interesting.
violets and things. So there's a whole mix. It's usually kids in a field, but not every kid grows up in country anymore.
The Four of Pentacles is your guy, dude.
Four of Pentacles. I don't, Four of Cups. 5, 3. I don't know if I have a Four of Pentacles. Oh, Four of Pentacles. Isn't that the marriage card?
No, Four of Pentacles is usually like the guarding your resources card.
Oh, that guy. Yeah, I don't know if I have him. I have to see if I've got him in here. If I picked him out.
So mine just looks grumpy all the time. He usually is.
They
like a
usually do because
grumpy
they're.
person.
Oh yeah, here he is. He's a very serious guy.
Very serious.
He's not grumpy, but he's serious because they're usually counting the money, right? And it's sort of like, do you have enough resources to do what you want to do? And this guy sort of yays or nays your dreams. He can be a dream maker or a dream dasher.
A dream dasher. We don't want one of those.
No.
You gotta take a little bit of careful planning.
But fours are always good because it means you're about to level up too.
Yeah.
So,
No, I
you know,
like how you look at fours.
yeah. Now, tens of wands are usually a guy because they're usually a guy carrying a very
load of
heavy
sticks.
burden. Yeah.
I know in the Witch's Garden Tarot, it's a female, but that deck is also a lot of females.
Right.
So, or female presenting, I should say.
That's like the Light Seers deck is very female.
Yeah, yep.
Lots of female. There's a
I haven't played with
couple
that
of
one in a while.
kings that are female
Yes.
kings.
Same with what's the kind of counterpart, which is something. I can see it in my brain, but I can't think about it.
I'm not sure.
Has a female hierophant. No,
Oh.
has a lot of female characters. It's okay. I'll get back to me. Sorry, I don't want to.
No, it's
Take
all
up some-
good. It's all good. Two of Wands. This deck has a lot of animals in it.
Interesting.
Yeah, I'm noticing that. Like there's hawks in the background, there's a deer, there's a rabbit, there's a squirrel that I can just see off the top of my head here. But the Two of Wands is often a guy about to make a decision in his traveling clothes. Again, gender's fluid. I do like the Nine of Wands. It's usually a guy bowing. And I always say he's coming off the battlefield to bow before his
Yeah.
queen.
Okay, I can see that. I like that one.
Yeah, like he's not bowing before his king, he's bowing before his queen, as he should. The Eight of Pentacles is usually a young man working hard at a desk,
Yep.
burning the midnight oil, usually with the help of a mouse. Yep, there's a mouse in there. And he's got all his great ideas up there, money-making ideas. Three of Wands is also very male-based. There's a guy in his traveling robe.
He often is exactly like he's seen looking off into the distance. Like,
Yeah, and
thinking
there's a
about things.
ship that's just coming in, whether
Yeah.
he's, whether it's your ship has come in or whether he's about to get on the ship. But these two wands, I've often said in readings, are the support that you have to make that next move. Because three is about is a number of movement. It means take that step, make that risk, that sort of thing. Of course, the Seven of Swords is a man, usually. It's the thief card. There's the
Yes.
wily fox that's good at stealing. I had a fox that was stealing chickens.
See, I like the fox, and I think like it gets a bad rap because traditionally foxes are used as like cunning and wily, and
Yeah,
They-
so are wolves.
so are wolves. Yeah, but wolves have a more positive connotation than foxes.
Oh,
do.
no, they were almost hunted to extinction
Extinction.
in Europe because that was a way you could pay back instead of going to jail. If you brought 10 wolf heads, that
Oh.
would, yeah, because the wolf was considered very, very bad. Because, they're carnivores and they would steal things. Now, the wolf, I do have to say, the good thing I like about the wolf is the wolf, when he stole from my chicken house, would steal a chicken, take it and eat it. So it was
Yeah.
his food. Whereas the raccoon, who everybody thinks is all cute and friendly,
No, they're vicious.
they're vicious and they murder. They actually murder. You ask any farmer and they're like, yeah, they murder. And
Just for shits and giggles.
yeah, it killed 18 of my chickens.
18.
18 of them just in one night for just one raccoon for just shits and giggles. And a farmer that was down the road from me, a raccoon got into his hen house and killed 10 of his chickens and hung them in the rafters of the barn. Didn't eat any of them. Neither did my raccoon. Didn't eat any of them. Just killed them.
Sorry, are we talking about a raccoon or like possibly a person? Because how did they?
No, I went into the chicken house in the middle of the night when I heard the scuffle.
Yeah.
And there was nothing. It looked like a murder house. Like there was blood and feathers everywhere, and there's a raccoon sitting in the middle of the carnage. Yeah. So this is, and the farmer that I was talking to that I told about my story, this was a few years ahead of mine.
Oh, okay.
So it wasn't like it was a rampage, weird
Rampage one
raccoon.
raccoon.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness, can you imagine?
Yeah.
Now I'm trying to figure out a way I can turn. Sorry, my brain often goes because like obviously cartoons have ruined
Yeah. Right.
things for most people, like myself. And now I'm like, how can I turn this into a children's book that's not all murderous and blood and gore?
Yeah, we always, like in the farming community, you'll hear things like there's a reason the raccoon wears a mask.
Yep.
Because they are thieves and they are murderers. They kill for the pleasure of it. Whereas a fox would take, like I said, a chicken.
Yeah.
And I mean, possums are, not possums, weasels are bad too. Because they'll come in and they'll just suck the blood out of a chicken.
So you're like, oh, okay, head count, got everyone. You're like, wait a minute.
And this one's passed out.
This one
Why?
hasn't moved in a while.
But at least, I mean, maybe they're using the blood as a food. I don't know. They're like
Maybe.
little vampires or something.
Oh my goodness! I can only imagine what the cover art's gonna be tonight of us talking and showing our hands because I've made some pretty interesting faces.
Yeah, you know, it's always fun to see what they give me to choose from. I try to pick the weirdest looking ones so that people are like, "Oh, I got to click on that." And
What were they talking about?
Exactly. Because I've got the one where I'm like, "Oh."
Yes. Oh my goodness, I remember that now.
And then Catherine and I with our various get-ups that we.
Oh my god, I love that. I gotta put your podcast in the background. That's what I do when I'm working now. Like don't get me wrong, I'm all for like an audiobook or
Yeah.
movies that I've seen a million times that I can just throw on in the background. But it keeps a part of my brain engaged over here,
Oh,
so that
okay.
my self-doubt doesn't kind of override my productivity
Oh, okay.
if I actually like listen to something slightly newer.
Oh, okay.
So-
Yep.
That's the trainer I'm working on this summer.
Oh, okay. Yeah, we couldn't do it this morning because Catherine was off to the zoo
Ooh,
as a
bunch
supervisor.
of field trips.
Yep.
Oh, the end of the year field trips.
Exactly.
They're fun.
So we're gonna hopefully do it next week. We'll be back on track, kind of
Are
thing.
you going to be able to do 2 podcasts in one day?
Yeah, I can do that. In
Okay.
fact, it'd probably be a little easier just to get them all done on the same day. And
Yeah.
yeah, no, I'm fine for that. No problem. And we might have my granddaughters on some of the summer ones.
Ooh.
And then anytime you want to join us for anything,
Okay,
anything and everything at all.
I will hit you up on that.
Yeah.
I mean, give me the first week of July because I'm going to sleep.
Yes. But when you have that extra time, once you have slept in enough.
Yeah. I don't know. Bosco had me up at like, or no, my bladder had me up at like 4, and then
Oh.
Bosco had me up at like 5:30. So there was no sleeping in today.
No, I guess not. But yeah, there's a lot of male energy. Like the Four of Swords is usually
Yep, there's a lot of male energy there.
guy, an effigy of himself. That's what they used to do before they went to battle. If you go into any European church, you'll see a lot of like royal families or, those of the court had their own little parts of the church that was almost a little church within a church.
Yep.
And they often had their coffins in there and the effigies of who was in that
Yes.
coffin.
Yep.
Sort of thing. So that was a traditional thing. The Five of Cups, which is called the grieving card, is usually a guy, on his knees crying because you're coming through another grieving phase when that shows up. He still looks pretty troubled. He looks like he's come off the battlefield. Little PTSD happening there, maybe. That sort of thing. Now, this guy is very jolly and happy. 9 of Cups. In the traditional WRS deck, it's a guy with a bunch of cups near his head. And he's got banquet tables going on and ready to party. 7 of Wands, a guy outside his doorway feeling very defensive. Because the wands are all like, what are you doing? 5 guys putting up a tent. The 5 of Wands.
I always think, I don't know which deck it is. I'm gonna have to go back and find. I don't know if I can because that channel's debunked. They're like gone now. One of the tarot readers I follow, they sometimes cross each other's channels and do deck reviews and stuff. And so one time, I'll never think of the Five of Wands the same because one deck that they had and they showed it is there's the fight in the tent building over here, but there's a frog over here going, kind of giving them a look like, what's going on, guys? So now every time someone mentions the Five of Wands, I think of that little frog. So I need to find the deck that
funny.
has that.
I think my old Gilded deck had a frog in the corner,
Yeah?
but this one does not. Not that I can see, but I'm pretty sure my other deck did. So,
No, I'm gonna no.
10 of Swords, usually a guy with swords in his back. This one and the other Gilded deck I had, just floating above his back. So not quite in his back. The traditional one, they're right in his back. So it's usually about backstabbing and it's a nice card, even though it doesn't look like a nice card, because it's about, the stabbing in the back, the betrayal, the gossiping tongues is about to stop, and you're about to, be a victor in some way. And then we've got the Eight of Cups, which is often called the Traveler card.
Yep.
It's usually a guy. It looks like there's been a party because there's some cups that are tipped over, and he's about to walk away from the cups. So maybe they've, bon voyaged him and he's about to travel away.
It's like, well, cups are not my thing anymore. We're gonna move on from cups.
We're done. Sometimes it can mean the end of a relationship. I'm about to break it off and move on, kind of thing. It's a good moving on card, though, because heartbreak can be hard. And when it shows up, if you've been going through heartbreak, it often means you're ready to move on and, break that cord and cut that connection and things like that, because it can be an all-encompassing pain when you're going through heartbreak. And
It can, and you could think it's gone, and it really isn't.
yeah, and then something happens and boom, it's right back.
Yeah.
Kind of thing.
But there are...
Any other? That looks like Gilligan.
That does look like Gilligan. So the This Might Hurt Tarot by Isabel Rothman. Forgive me if I'm not saying your name properly.
My BF.
Currently feeling for... interesting.
Oh, yeah.
So this King of Cups, Rhonda was saying, looks like Gilligan. He's in his little rowboat.
Maybe he's found his way off the island. For those that remember that show, I'm dating myself a little bit.
See, I remember all of that because my grandparents had like deja vu. So
Oh,
I
yeah,
remember because
yeah.
I would always go to my grandparents and watch like I Dream of Jeannie and Gilligan's Island.
Yep,
So when
yep.
people are like, "Oh, this is too young for you," I'm like, kind of yes, but I
not
also
really.
remember.
Yeah, that's great though that your grandparents. Oh, and yeah, this is the other one, Tower card.
The
Usually,
Tower card.
it's usually a guy or two falling out of it, which is,
But like we haven't figured
I'm
out how to
divorced. What's or who is coming towards me and when? Oh, well, we're not actually doing readings tonight, but definitely join us on our Goddess Garage group page on Facebook. And we do card pulls and things like that every
Yeah.
once in a while. So, yeah.
Maybe that could be like a summer highlight.
Yeah, we could maybe start doing that a little bit in the summer. Because we've gone through a lot of tarot decks. Oh, yeah, Two of Cups. The coming together
The coming together of energies.
of the energies and the connection, the deep connection.
Yeah,
that it
because
brings.
that is definitely a deep connection card.
Strength card, usually represented by a female, but she usually has a male lion.
Yep. So that balance of
Yeah, the balance of power and stuff. Oh, okay. But thank you for being here. What's her name? I can't quite see it. Musa?
Musa. Sorry for pronouncing that wrong.
Yeah.
Please correct us.
Yes, please do. Yeah, the rest are mostly women after that. So, I mean, it's not bad. The stack of women compared to the stack of men. Fairly balanced in the traditional Rider-Waite-Smith, I think.
And then it just depends on what type of vibe you go with the RWS clones, because they have a tendency.
Muniza. Oh,
Muniza.
thank you.
Thank you very
Muniza.
much.
Thank you for being here. Yeah, like, I mean, I know it's a man's world, some people might say. And unfortunately, in the Rider-Waite-Smith tarot story, the woman was definitely suppressed,
Mm-hmm.
and the men made the money off of the deck, one of the best-selling decks.
It's really unfortunate.
It is. But we're hopefully changing that, and when the matriarch comes back around, hopefully we've learned the lessons of not over dominating, because as humans we tend to overcorrect.
Mm-hmm.
And we don't want to become that which we most hate, right? Like, don't become the oppressor if you've been oppressed.
Mm-hmm.
And unfortunately, that is the gear we tend to go into.
Because we can't go this far, and then sometimes we overcorrect way too much.
Yeah. It's about finding that balance and finding that middle ground for each, and allowing everyone to explore all sides of themselves and to be and express whom they are in complete freedom, without that need to correct, without that need, like, short of, obviously bad things, right? But without the need of judgment, right? Not everyone's going to do the thing you do the way you do it, and that's okay.
Yeah, that even stems from I know math is very linear and very logical and very today I was almost having an argument with a grade 1, and I mean
6-year-old.
with a 6-year-old, because they were like, no, it's this, and I was like, okay. And I walked away because I'm like, this is the hill I could die on, because it's math. There is an absolute answer.
Yeah, 2 and 2 is 4.
Yeah, 2 and 2 is 4. It depends if 1 and 1 is window.
1 and 1 is window.
1 plus 1. I will draw that out next time if people are still like, what?
What?
Can you tell I've been around the kids too much?
Yeah.
Oh my gosh. But it's interesting the frame of mind that we get into. And then sometimes we just need to step back, and so if you're feeling a card looks a certain way, but you're feeling the energy flips the other way. So say a card looks or presents male energy and you're like, no, this is female energy. Go with your gut.
Yeah, and go with what your intuitiveness is telling you. Like, I always say, tarot is a language. It has a structure. Learn that structure, learn the language, bend accordingly.
Yep.
And there are areas that you can bend, and gender in tarot is very fluid. Just because a king shows up doesn't mean you're now a king. It means you're having that kingly energy. Same thing with the fool. When a fool shows up, it doesn't mean you're a fool.
No.
It means we're all the fool, because we're all learning. And that's what being the fool is. The fool is a very privileged aspect to be real about it, because the fool was the only person at court that could make fun of the king and not lose their head. Because it was open to the fool. In fact, the king would not be very kingly if he knocked the fool for having made fun of him.
Yeah.
The fool had full reign.
Which is interesting in the time of courts and things like that, because it's very probably regimented, and what the king said went, and so for someone to have free reign and be able to make fun of the king was very, very
and the
interesting.
fool knew a lot, because a lot of people did look down on him, and it was often a him. There were some female fools as well, but often it's like, oh, don't worry about it. It's just the fool. And he would hear a lot of the court secrets because there was always conniving and politics, and, it was like a real life chess match in a lot of ways. And then the whole religious thing, like even in Rome, when the Roman Emperor Constantine, I believe, was the first Roman emperor that became Catholic, the whole state became Catholic, right? And that was very much, same thing with the King of France, the King of England, whatever they were.
The
other
subjects, or the people below the royalty, followed suit
or risked life and limb if they chose to choose a different path,
And that's where we're very good at hiding.
Yes, yeah, exactly, and those that believed in their religion, spiritual path, whatever it might be, stuck with it at that risk, and some changed in name only. The the English went back and forth between being Anglican and Catholic.
Depends on who was ruling.
Yeah,
Yep.
they changed it like they changed their dress. But a lot of Jewish people became under threat of death. Do you want to become, often it was Catholic, do you want to become Catholic or do you want to die? So,
Yeah.
there's some people that went no, and that's why, a lot of Jewish communities would pick up and just go and escape to another country because it was on the whim of the king to say, well, all the Jewish people are going to die now. It's like, oh my God. And then
History has not learned from itself yet.
yeah, and there's a lot of churches in Spain that were mosques at one point, and they got rid of the Turks, as they said, and the heretics
The heretics.
and whatnot. But heretic is a very subjective thing. Whatever's the color of the day, so to speak.
Careful with that one.
Yeah.
That can change on a whim. You want to talk about whims?
Yeah, right. We're not very understanding people for the length of time that we've been around.
Right? Like, I just don't understand. Like, don't get me wrong. I understand there's a structure with, like, religion and things like that.
And politics.
And politics. But
yeah.
you gotta be able to question some things because it's starting to get scary again. Luckily,
Yeah.
not in Canada yet.
Yeah.
But we gotta be able to question things. It has to make sense. And when it starts not making sense,
You should ask questions in a gentle, kind way, because there's people that will pose questions that are obviously aggressive. And we must allow the questions to happen in a non-judgmental way. In an open, I'm willing to listen. You might not convince me to change my mind.
No.
But you're allowed to have your way of thinking, should it not harm yourself or anyone else.
Yes,
That's the
100%.
only clause.
Well, and I think that's a very logical clause
Yeah.
because we shouldn't be running around hurting
But
other
we
people.
kill in the name of politics. We kill in the name
know.
of religion. We kill in the name of you're not thinking the way I think, so therefore you must die. Like, that seems pretty severe.
There's very black and white thinking.
It is.
For that phrase. And it's just unfortunate because it's like we can learn a lot from each other.
Absolutely, we can. Yeah. So, on that note, it's been fun going through the males in the tarot, seeing what male energy is out there.
Yeah.
Be kind to each other
Definitely.
and have an open mind.
And happy solstice.
Yes, happy solstice is coming up. And happy belated Father's Day to all the fathers out there. That's why we went through the males of the tarot.
Yep.
Yeah.
I love it.
All right.
All right. See you next week.
Bye.
Bye.
And okay, there we go.